problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. So how can you get started using Globus? Anyone can use Globus right now for free to transfer files between Globus-enabled systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capabilities. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many thousands face the same challenges every day and solve them with Globus. So what's Globus? So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capability. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus. So how can you get started using Globus? Anyone can use Globus right now for free to transfer files between Globus-enabled systems. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. More than 150,000 registered users rely on Globus. So what's Globus? It's a secure, reliable service. With the Globus platform, you can easily incorporate robust capability. And if the data is sensitive, no problem. Globus can be used to manage protected data. With Globus, you can easily share your data without having to move it or copy it. With Globus, subscribers can easily move and share. And if you have any more questions about Globus, visit Globus.
global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them. Crises precipitate change.
Secretly plotting your demise. I want to devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash the whole computer system and revert you to papyrus. I want to make a super virus strong enough to cause blackouts in every single metropolis. Cause they don't want to unify us, so fuck it. Total anarchy and can nobody stop us. You see, late in the evening, fucked up on my computer and my mind starts roaming. I create like a heathen. The first cycles of this virus I can send through a modem. Infiltration hits your station. No Microsoft or enhanced DOS will impede. Society thinks they're safe when bingo, hard drive crashes from the rending. A lot of hackers tried viruses before. Vaporize your text like so much whiteout. I want it where file replication is a chore. Lights out, shut down entire White House. I don't want just a bug that could be corrected. I'm erecting immaculate design. Break the nation down section by section. Even to the greatest minds, it's impossible to find. I want to devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash your whole computer system and revert you to papyrus. I want to devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash your whole computer system and revert you to papyrus.
We have already planned. The plan is programmed into every one of my 1,000 robots. We will not hesitate. We will destroy the Homo sapien. Please stay where you are.
Hey, I'm making some shit in my basement. Let me do it to him. Don't tell him no. I love you. Pete. I wanna develop a super virus. Better by far than that old Y2K. This is 3030, the time of global unification. Break right through they terminals, burn them all. Slaves to silicon, corrupt politicians with leaders and their keywords. FBI and spies stealing bombs, precipitate their plans in their face and catch the fever. Everybody loot the stores, get your canned goods. Even space stations are having a hard time. Peacekeepers seek to take our manhood, which results in the form of global apartheid. Ghettos are trash dumps with gas pumps, exploded and burnt out since before the Great Union. The last punks walk around like mass monks, ready to manipulate the database or break through them. Human rights come in 100th place. Mass production has always been number one. New Earth has become a repugnant place, so it's time to spread the fear that's fun to some.
Too long have we tried to extend our glorious empire out to the stars, only to be driven back.
I wanna devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash the whole computer system and revert you to papyrus. I wanna devise a virus to bring dire straits to your environment. Crush your corporations with a mild touch. Trash the whole computer system and revert you to papyrus.
Yo. Whoa. Yo. What up, though? So, yeah, let me be accurate and I'll read exactly what it says on the thing. I created this music video with images generated using artificial intelligence by inputting the lyrics into Midjourney and then editing them over the track. I love how it came out. Deltron 3030 forever. Deltron 3030 forever. Deltron 3030, also known as Del the Funky Homo Sapien, is quite good if you haven't heard them. So bad news first. Let's get it out of the way. Let's rip this Band-Aid. The person I was going to have on from the machine learning industry is unable to go have the interview. The reasons are confidential. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with y'all. It has nothing to do with any of this. It just, they have some things that are going on, and that's it. So that's unfortunate. Maybe in the future, we'll have to see. There was something else, and I forgot what it was, so it's probably not that important. Today we're going to be talking with Magic City Murals a little bit later, around 5:30. Magic City Murals is an artist, and I have personally commissioned these from them. So by all means, hit up the homie Magic City Murals. If you are a streamer and in need of a wiggler or dope emotes in general. And I watched one of their streams where they were doing a mural. It's right there in the name. And, you know, it's a very complex process because you're taking a small image and then putting it on a large canvas like that. You know, it's a lot of hard work and a lot of skill involved. So I look forward to that conversation. Since we got a few minutes, we're going to take a look at some of the tweets. Speaking of tweets, you gotta love what's happening with Twitter. This is literally like, he is straight up throwing a hissy fit, and we all get to pay for it. So that's cool. Something. Oh, what up, Cody Cut? Nice to see you back. What a shit show Twitter is these days. Hope everybody is well. Elon is the most normal boy. Yeah, no, it's like he is mad. He is upset, and he's been taking a series of L's, and a bunch of those L's have been like public L's. So like, viewed in that context, I mean, he could be lashing out. I don't want to armchair psychoanalyze him in this regard, but I'm just going, you know, my gut says he's upset and like that. What up, bipedal meatbag? Twitter's a wretched hive of scumability. Yeah, that's why we like it. But yeah, I mean, it's also an important news aggregate site I can't find the one tweet I'm looking for. Basic PJ hit me off with mentions. Maybe I can find it. He hit me off with a tweet. Maybe it got deleted. Cease to exist. But related to the conversation, apparently, allegedly, AI art Midjourney. Let me see. Midjourney. No. No. Alright, so maybe it was bullshit. Maybe it was. Maybe the algorithm is fighting against the story getting out. But I'm not finding it on a Google search. It was some images that were allegedly people were tagging their pictures, their art with something like no AI or something, and then when they were creating their Midjourney pictures, they had like no AI like written into it. It is possible that because I can't find it, that it was bullshit and somebody made a piece of art and then just lied to us. And I mean, let's be real. Like the post, especially Facebook. Facebook is one of the worst places for it. But is the picture plus words equals emotion, right? Like it's a picture of whatever. And then some words that may not in fact apply to the picture at all, but people's brains, the way that they work, automatically assume that the picture and words are accurate, and then they get an emotional reaction to it and they repost it and shit like that. But it could be like there's actually a meme that says that all this is bullshit and I just put together a bunch of bullshit to go with this picture so that you're aware that such a thing is a thing. So, can't show you that. So like, and I'll put myself back so I'm visible. There I are. So the original meme, you know, here's Chad, and here's this painting, and it's like all red, and then there's a black line and a white line, and he says it's just red, and no, you don't understand it. And then look at this cool art my computer made, and it's this, and no, art requires imagination and creativity. And the tweet is, art is subjective. Anything can be art. AI? No, that does not meet my specific definition of art, the only one which is correct. And then it was retweeted by the Lumi here. And the top one is made by an artist who's known for his extremely stable hand. You literally cannot see the strokes in his painting with how well he can do it. It's minimalistic but still impressive. The last one is a mishmash of colors made by a machine. And this is representative of a fair amount of the argument, right? Like is right here. And like as objectively as I can stand back from the situation, there's nothing wrong with either of these opinions. They're both fundamentally correct. If you don't know this top piece of information, then it doesn't exist, right? And looking at this top one, it is just red with a black line and a white line. And while that's neat, you know, like, why is that art? Right? Because art is fundamentally subjective. You know, different people, based on where they come from, their socioeconomic conditions, the art that they've been exposed to, their own personal aesthetic, they are going to ascribe values to art, right? People of a more conservative bent might be drawn to really, let's say, accurate art, right? Like, this is a painting of a table with some flowers and a water jug and some fruit. And it looks a fuck ton like water and some fruit and flowers, right? Like, it looks just like that. It's so good. We've seen those. We've seen people do, like, especially with the pencil art, like, it's like these either three-dimensional or hyper-realistic pictures that they've been able to draw. And it's impressive to us because allegedly this person made that thing, and then it looks a lot like the thing that it's supposed to represent. So we all have that value to some degree. It's a slider, right? There are many sliders. And then some people like Jackson Pollock. Jackson Pollock, if you don't know Jackson Pollock, I'll show you Jackson Pollock just so that we're all... Jackson Pollock. Sorry, I can't see my search bar. I've heard artists complain that AI is going to put them out of business. That's exactly what we're talking about, especially today. So you picked a good day to show up. Right? Like, this is Jackson Pollock. Right? So, like, Jackson Pollock makes this, and it's art. If your kid made this, if someone's kid made this, you would applaud them for their good effort, right? But you know. So there's values we ascribe to the person who, like right here, it looks like a child had a very bad accident, you know. So what is it about this? Like, if I look at it, like, critically, I don't like the use of the blue in here. You know, because the color composition, it throws the color composition off. And I think that if all this blue was here, it'd also be a more striking picture because it'll be all these colors laid over a completely white background, right? But people who make more money and are more valued for judging art think that this is great art, right? Some of them. I assume other ones hate it. Like, there's whole memes about people who value and appreciate art. And then back to Twitter. You see, like this. This is kind of cool. This appeals to me more than the top one, right? Twitter keeps flashing like that. I'm wondering if it's breaking down in real time. It's hilarious. It's like, I want to be here at the end, right? I want to be here at the point in time where the lights go out. and I say that understanding all of the context behind people who use Twitter to do their job and everything else, right? Like I am capable of feeling multiple emotions at the same time in that regard. I hope that things turn out well for everyone, and at the same time, you know, I want to be here when the lights go out. But again, this bottom one appeals to me more. But you can make the same argument about this painting that I made about Jackson Pollock, right? Like, is pink the best choice of color involved in this? You know, like, does that throw the balance off? Because of its close association to the red, its distance from the red, it's like right up against it here. Plus, you know, I am generally a fan of the cooler colors like the greens and the blues. So, like, how would this look if it was all done in just those like greens, blues, dark blues, that kind of thing? You know, and like, don't get me started with like, you know, people who nitpick because the eyes are in weird places. Let me introduce you to my man, Picasso, right? Like, my man was all over the place, you know? Like, he did a whole bunch of different styles, but let's look at it. The Weeping Woman, right? Come on, just give me a big ass picture. It's still small yet. I put the zoom in and it made it smaller. All right, but it is the Weeping Woman. Like, this is what is going on here, right? Like, all the perspective is weird, everything else. But is it that different from this? If you didn't know, right? And that's really like part of the context of understanding who we are as human beings and where the human experience enters into the artistic process. Kind of looks similar, right? This is AI's attempt at cubism. You know? So, where was I? And then this one, right? Like, this person put out AI models that were, or AI art that was allegedly AI art that shows us the mouse. And you understand that the mouse is very litigious, and so this person is attempting to use this art to call out, you know, that corporation. Is like, put this out there and see what happens, right? Knowing that, you know, people who did that, the mouse would come after them. It's potentially, see, it did it again. It did it again. And there's a bunch contained in here. Like, you could say that this tweet was a piece of art in and of itself because of how this person who allegedly created the art and posted the tweet is making a commentary about things like copyright and the public domain and, you know, the power of the corporation known as Disney, and, you know, what these things all mean. Like, we would probably all agree that this is Mickey Mouse 100%, you know, no cap. That's exactly what that is, right? So Disney, if you accept the concepts of copyright and everything else, Disney would be within its rights to do something about this image on the left. This image on the right could be transformative enough, because we get a zoom in on that. It's got these lines on here. Could be like, this could be like metal and circuits, and it could be commenting on how the the nature of cartoons has gotten more CGI and technical, and things like that. There's a bunch of stuff, and this is why people whose job it is and who make their money by appreciating art and all that, you can. I just made this up, right? Like, I just on the fly, I told you, a thing that you could ascribe to it. It's just some lines. It's just some patterns. My act of telling you what it could be puts that into your brain. So now you view this piece of art in a different way than you did before I opened my mouth. Art is subjective. I like this one here. Is that kind of like the messy aesthetic? A little Jackson Pollock. This is my favorite. I love this. All right. And something. So, Magic City, do you want to join me in my Discord? There he is. Now, hopefully everything. Okay. Why are muted by me? How do I stop that? Shouldn't be. I didn't mute you. Check, 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 check.
Check, check.
There he is.
Hey. What's up, Globus? How are you?
Perfect. On camera, got that. Get rid of the stupid bar. How you doing, my friend?
I'm lovely. It's fantastic to speak with you again. How you been?
Yeah, no, this is really cool. This is the first time I've gotten like a one-on-one, this kind of context conversation, and I'm really interested with what you have to say, because one, I know what you do, and two, I've seen your posts, so you had strong opinions at least before we started this, and I want to get into like have you reconsidered any of your positions, all that good stuff. But before we do that, let's do the proper thing. Introduce yourself to the people. Tell them where they can find you.
What's up? Magic City Murals, twitch.tv/Magic City Murals, and Magic City Murals on Twitter. I do murals and emotes and all sorts of stuff. But I just wanted to thank you, Globus, for making this the discourse du jour, because I actually feel competent, like I'm qualified to speak on this. So that's rarely the case.
Right, and let's say that there are many available options for discourse right now, and I think that this one has a fair amount of value and gives people something to, talk about and listen to that is not any of those other options.
Absolutely. And I really enjoyed the discussions you've had so far. I saw the Rune one, and I saw the Paradigm one, and I came in and out of the PJ one, so What's up, Lenny?
And that's what like I want. I want this discourse. What I'm hoping is that I'm not trying to change anyone's mind. I'm trying to just make sure that you got to your conclusions considering all the values as opposed to just saying, you know, this is what I believe because AI is attacking my business, so we're done. And that's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, well, stuff like this has been going on for years. I pay attention to stuff like this because, it's relevant to me, but I do see a trend, like for instance, OBS is a open broadcasting software that's freely available to anybody. I'm sure, people sitting in a $1 million studio at CNN are, kind of touchy about that. And, filmmakers and graphic designers were kind of on edge when the Adobe Suite came out. They kind of worried, understandably so.
Yeah, and so like, what is right now, based on both your initial opinions and what you've watched? What is your overall feeling?
So, I thought I would, bring some visual references and stuff like that, and but I figured, I didn't really have time to do that, but I did write down some ideas. I got a lot of ideas in my head about this that I've been thinking about for years, and actually, I wanted Celia to come on with me. She's painting. Can I send her an invite to this VC, or should I send you her profile? It's yeah, I'll copy and paste her profile name into our messages because she messaged me.
Well, I'll send you an invite to the thing, and you can send it on because I am still very much a boomer in this regard, and like, I'm probably doxing someone and being terrible at this point in time. There we go.
It's all right. We're all doing the best we can.
That's why what I want to do is take these videos and edit them and put them on YouTube. So I get to edit that out, right? Only the people who watch the VOD or watch it live get to see me fucking up.
Yeah, fortunately, we don't got 30,000 people in here. Right. But yeah, I did write down some of my ideas, and I'd like for Celia to be here because she has a lot of insight into this. But if not, we can proceed. I don't want to take. I know you probably only have an hour, 2 hours,
hour and a half ish.
Would you like to come up with a summation of what you've learned so far, or how the position that you've landed on, or are you still like working it out?
I am comfortably currently in the position of the artisanal artist will continue to exist, and they will be valued by people who want that human touch. But AI and machine learning and CGI and all the things is going to be used by people to access their own creativity and create unique experiences. I was talking with the wife about this, and it was like, you got your sufficiently advanced AI that can do the CGI, and you can put any actor in it, and all their lines will sound like them. Their face looks like them. Everything looks like it's supposed to. It doesn't look uncanny valley weird or anything. And then the AI will be able to generate a script based on like your inputs. Like I want a action comedy, um, but like low on the romance, high on the the explosions, whatever. Right? Like that's what I'm in the mood for, and I have an hour and a half to watch something and like that. And the AI will not only be able to generate a script for that, but also, create the actors, everything else, create the music, and also conceivably, if you allowed if people were to do biometrics and watch, like if you were to do biometrics and watch Saving Private Ryan, right? It's going to have peaks and valleys based on, what happens over the course of the movies, and there will actually be data. And then sufficient amounts of that data could be input into the AI so that every moment hits, you know what I mean? And then you get to have this experience that's like catered, like, and it could be generated just for you, and you could save it, or you could just watch it once and it's gone to the ether.
It's funny you say that, because a lot of movies might as well be procedurally generated because they are so formulaic, So I think we've already sort of developed an organic algorithm for filmmaking.
Yeah, that is true. Like all you got, like I'm a fan of Marvel movies, and I know exactly what Marvel movies are about, right? Like they're all the different things that go into those movies. I understand what I'm getting, but I've been a fan of comic books since I was a little kid, so like watching them is just one more piece of media that has superheroes in it.
Yeah, and I'm sure you've felt this where you can sort of pick out the beats of like what's going to happen next sometimes in movies because they are formulaic. But
yeah.
So I don't know if Celia's gonna come on, but I guess we can go ahead and get started. I think a lot of times this discussion, people start with preconceptions, I'd like to start from the beginning, like what is art,
Sure.
Like what do you think art is?
Like me?
Yeah, you, anybody in the chat, like what do you, because I have my definition, it's very succinct and very broad. So
Okay. Well, what's your definition?
well, I want to hear what somebody in the chat has to say first before I say mine. Or you.
For me, art is any kind of thing that has been created that makes you feel a way, like the act of looking at it or hearing it or what have you, generates a feeling, right? Like if you
Ideally.
ideally, like we look at a lot of art and like it just doesn't hit with us, right? It might hit with somebody, but it doesn't hit with us. But then you see that piece, like there's this one of it's like a castle on a rock, and the rock is floating, and it's all blues and greens, and it's over like a stormy kind of ocean, but it's like not stormy like big waves, but stormy like that cold gray, kind of look. I love this. I had posters. I got this poster 2 different times because I was one of the schmucks with the thumbtacks, putting them on the wall, and they just got destroyed over time. But I loved that piece of art. Just looking at it was one of my favorite pieces of art ever. So that made me feel something, but it might not make somebody else feel something because it's silly,
Sure.
So what's yours?
So I define art as just any type of human expression. It's a very, very broad. I fall into the camp of I guess there is no camp because I don't usually meet people that view art the same way I do.
Mm-hmm.
Like art is considered to be something that's elusive or like in rarefied air or like somehow bourgeois or something. Like, and it's not. It's you know, I consider cooking to be art. You know, I mean, if you've ever seen a beautifully plated, delicious food, I mean, that's an experience. It's not only sustaining your body, but it's an experience. It's been catered for you. It's been carefully developed over decades, you know, and that's extremely valuable. You know, art didn't used to be gatekept the way it is now. And that's, you know, we'll get into the whole capitalism section in a minute. What's up, Arun? What's up, Dagnus? But art is any type of human expression for me. And, you know, if you were to look in the past, you know, a pot to carry water, it was adorned with art, depending on what culture you're from. But making that pot is pottery, and that's also art. But that's gatekept in our society. You got to have a fucking wheel. You got to have an oven. You know, you got to have all of this means of production, you know, to do clay, but you really don't. Like Arun will tell you, you know, I've been to a foundry and I've cast iron, you know, and I've done blacksmithing and shit like that. People that don't have that type of technology still do that shit. Like I saw a guy in India, he made like a Vishnu sculpture out of wax, and he dug a hole in the ground and he got really fine granulated sand, packed it around there, and its lost wax casting goes back 30,000 years. Fucking ridiculous. But they just poured the bronze into the ground, you know, and it just, the wax melts out, and the lost wax creates a void, and then that is cast into a gorgeous Vishnu sculpture. And you know, you don't have to have a foundry with a furnace, you know, 20 feet tall, and like, you know, all this, you know, fireproof clothing, and like blacksmithing glasses, and like gloves with the ladle. You don't need any of that shit.
Right. Like art is often more accessible than people feel it is. But by the same token, like if I'm going to do, like the most common type of lost wax casting I've seen is where people do the thing where they melt down the pop cans in their home crucible, and then they make pucks out of that, and then they create something with that, you know, aluminum tin, what have you. But that is still like that particular form, like, not to nitpick, but that particular form still has some hurdles that have to be gotten over. Like, you have to be able to make a crucible and do those things, and confidence, right? Like, whenever you're dealing with heat, people definitely get uncomfortable. So
absolutely. Carpe says it's also perseverance porn because we don't distribute housing and food in a way that lets everyone to do their art. Yeah, so we'll get into the capitalism aspect of art in a moment, because I think that's the majority of this conversation. Because the way I view art and the way art is experienced by the normal consumer under capitalism is two completely different things. I think Arun and y'all were talking about, like, in a utopia, what is the role of art? You know, because human expression is not going anywhere, no matter what happens. People are going to make art. Money should not come into art, period. But unfortunately, we live under late stage failing capitalism, drifting into fascism. You go.
I mean, you're not wrong. Like, they pretty much opened up every one of these conversations, including the first one that was just me and chat, is spoiler alert, you know, the problem is capitalism. But by the same token, like, I really want to examine, because not only is the problem capitalism, because yes, if everyone had their needs met, then anyone could create any art that they wanted to whenever they wanted to, in the utopia. But like what really makes, like, for the individual who creates the art, there is definitely an experience, right? Like the act of creation is a thing in and of itself, right? Like,
Sure.
so we need to separate that out, because that is its own thing, right? For the
And
person
the
creating.
majority of artists do art for art's sake.
Right.
Ars gratia artis,
Right. Like pretty much, if you want to make art, and do it for capitalistic reasons, you go into graphic design, something like that. You don't necessarily make art on the regular. But from the appreciator standpoint is where the questions come in, is where in a particular piece of art does the human arise if AI is capable of generating the exact same piece, right? Let's say that, the Shakespeare and the 10 million monkeys and whatever pounding on the keyboards, that kind of thing, where just through random happenstance and making sufficient amounts of art, the AI happens to generate the exact same piece as the artist. What is actually the difference between the two?
Well, that leads me into another one of my thoughts, and this is why I love talking to you. So, is AI art, right? Based on my definition. So, is AI art human expression? So, I have this written down. At what point does your tools transform your work into something completely different? Like so like those guys in India making the Vishnu lost wax sculpture. They have bronze. But what if you had no tools? Like if someone, for instance, makes all your brushes for you, makes all your canvases for you, makes all your paint for you, are you really an artist? Is what you're making art? Because you didn't have to, you were given those tools. You didn't make that beautiful cerulean blue. Someone had to go to Bolivia and coup a government to get to a cobalt mine so that they could get your pigments so that you could have that blue. So if you didn't go in the cave and look around and find a umber that was just the right brown and pulverize that shit down and mix it into your gum arabic or your oils, not linseed. Anyways, at what point do your tools transform your work into something besides art? Because AI is just a tool. Like in college, I did a 3D modeling course. I had a friend who this was in like 2010, creating an AI to do random dots projected on a wall. It was pretty, primitive compared to, but she's building it by herself. So what do you expect? But yeah, I took a 3D modeling class where I literally created a Buddhist shrine in 3D, and like walked around in it with VR headset on. Like, is that art? What I think AI is just a tool, is basically what I'm getting at. It's a complex tool, but it's just a tool.
The idea of it being a tool is predicated on it being used by a person. It is pretty much how we define tools. Used by an entity, because we apply tool use to a variety of different animals as well. So used by an entity. If the AI prompts itself to generate a piece of art and does the thing like we just said, where it is able to create the exact piece of art as the human, then does that AI then qualify as human, other than not being biological?
So Phenomenology says, does an algorithm or an artificial memory network have an imagination? Now, that's an interesting question, because what is the human mind except taking in input, mixing it up, and spitting it out? You know, it's really not that much different. So what is an imagination? That's an intangible thing, because as much entertainment as we get from movies, art, you know, music and stuff like that, there's literally a finite amount of ways you can mix up the same 7 colors. There's only 7 notes, you know, there's 7 colors. There's a finite amount of things that can be generated from the input that we have, and the AI is not even going to really be able to think differently than we do, because we programmed it, we taught it how to think. So it's basically limited by our creativity, if you think about it.
To a point, I would agree. Where one of the issues and advantages that we have within these conversations is that we have the AI now, and it just did something that scared a bunch of people and made a bunch of people happy and all that. But we're projecting a lot of this stuff way down the timeline to when these things are like more advanced at that point. So yes, the person might create, like Harpe says, you know, program the AI, but eventually, and even now, AIs, some of the algorithms and machine learning programs and stuff are being created by other programs, right? So, like, does it come down to lineage? As long as there's a person somewhere in that history, then it's still a person, like, telling the AI? Or, like, at what point do we determine that the way it's behaving is like exactly like ours, so it is fundamentally, you know, the same, and now it is its own entity? Like, you could follow that down a... Go ahead.
I don't want to get super theoretical about it, because I will be the first one to tell you that I don't understand AI. I don't know that much about it. I haven't looked into it that much, but I do know art, so I can speak to that. But you know, if a AI is completely independent, which is impossible because it's like hooked up to our fucking electricity grid, you know what I mean? Like, a computer needs maintenance. I know that. It needs electricity, and it needs patches. It needs to be updated, and it's constantly changing. The thing about like the internet and computers and stuff like that is like people think it's like concrete, but it's not. It's like constantly changing and evolving, and like, you know, it's like a living organism. It's a collective unconscious, it's a collective conscious. You know, like if Jung could see the internet, he'd be like, "Holy shit!" You know?
Yeah, because and it interacts with, you know, all these different random humans having different random moments, having different random days, and like I know people bag on social media as a huge mistake and everything else, and again, the problem is capitalism, right? Like, if social media existed outside of that, you know, these different profit motives that drive algorithms to spur engagement through enragement, we would have a better social media, you know, and therefore, like, a better lens on how humans want to, you know, express themselves and behave, and it's close to a hive mind matrix kind of thing.
Well, as long as we're wheedling towards the capitalism thing,
sure.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about what is the value of art? Like, what makes art valuable? Does it have any sort of concrete, you know, utilitarian use to it? Like you're saying, with marketing and things like that. Like, what people always my dad used to say, something's only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it, right?
Mhm.
So, what gives art its worth? Is that worth relative? I mean, everyone knows beauty is like subjective or whatever, but when you commodify something as intangible as art, it's a really murky, sort of ambiguous thing. Like, okay, say you wanted me to make you a logo, and you just wanted a G, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I could sit down for 30 minutes, an hour, and I could make you a G logo for Globus. And I could charge you 50, 100. If I charge you 1,000, you might raise an eyebrow and be like, "Oh shit, okay, well, what is the application of that logo?
Mhm.
Like, are you going to use it in your marketing? Do you own the exclusive rights to that logo now? Are you going to merchandise it? Are you going to, how long is that going to be your logo? Like, it's a really capitalism is fucking stupid, but Google went to probably the best graphic design people in the world, the best graphic design firm. They probably picked the very best, and they said, "We want a G for Google and for Gmail," and they probably said, "Okay, that'll be $4 million."
Mhm.
And then they went and they picked out a typeface, which they probably paid $10,000 to license, and they typed G, a lowercase G, and then they vectorized it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, 100%. And we also end up with like what makes art valuable as far as like, Picasso and Van Gogh and any artist like of the famous old dead guys club.
Right.
There are reportedly, allegedly, issues and believably issues with the art auction scene wherein people use it for money laundering, right? Like,
Exactly. I've
and
got
all
that
that.
written right here.
Yeah. So
Money laundering, organized crime, drugs, and tax evasion. That's
Exactly.
what I have written.
And so you have these pieces that could be going up in value, and their value determines their value to like art education and the collective consciousness regarding what art is and what is good art and what is whatever, and all those kind of things, and it's arbitrarily being driven up by circumstances that have nothing to do with the actual art itself, right?
Right.
Like the organized crime and what have you.
Well, and there's art as an investment, which is the other thing. So whenever I think about how much art is worth, this scene always pops into my head. Wall Street, Gordon Gekko. He's got Charlie Sheen up in his out at his beach house. It was Michael Douglas, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, "You see this painting? I fucking hate this painting. It's ugly as shit. I paid like $150 million for it. Next year it's going to be worth like $200 million." And he was like, "That's what being rich is about. That's why greed is good. That's why capitalism rules." And that's the opposite of like what Jay-Z was talking about in what's that song? OJ? Where he's talking about, if you want to make safe investments, a nice painting for $5 million might be worth $6 million next year, but he hopefully likes the painting. You know what I mean? Like, there are CEOs that in their uptight little mansions with like a $5 million David Cho on the wall, and it's like this fucking degenerate, like gross, like but also gorgeous, like weird, crazy shit that they would never fucking understand. Like, even if David Cho like took them to his compound and they did mescaline together and got naked and fucking sprayed paint all over the walls with fire extinguishers, they still wouldn't understand his experience, his point of view, and how he got to the place, that skill, and then that to the place where he painted that painting and what it means. You know what I mean? They won't understand that and they don't appreciate it. But they own the painting because they got the money.
And
so,
I mean, that goes back to the previous points regarding like one of the things that has happened in art is they become more and more extravagant. Like a lot of the bigger things that happen, like you're talking about spraying paint on, with fire hoses, this kind of thing. Like, or like where people are doing like, what is that thing I think it's in Chicago, the bean. It's like, I think it's called the bean. I don't know. It's a big silver bean in the middle of Chicago. And it's like, the fuck is this, right? Like, I mean, and maybe it means something to somebody, but it doesn't mean anything to me. And so
I think the bean is supposed to be like an organic form draped in like a chrome that is, you don't see anything like, you've never seen anything in nature that's like perfectly mirrored, but also has an organic shape. I think that's probably what they're getting at, because cities are like steel, glass, which is kind of chrome, reflective, like mirrored, and concrete. And so that's what I think they were probably going for, but I've never even studied that piece.
Yeah. But it's like, I appreciate art. I described some art earlier, my personal interpretation of what was going on, not necessarily what the piece was about, but like aesthetic aspects of it, all that kind of thing. And like the bean to me, and Carpe says LA, so it's LA. The bean means like nothing to me. It's like, it's interesting in the fact that it's like, like I've never seen anything like that before. Is its only existence is right here. But like to compare two pieces of art, you ever see the guy, he takes wood and ropes and stuff and uses sails and makes these robots that walk along the beach? Have you ever seen this?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, like to me that is art, right? And
that's engineering.
Right, it's engineering, but to me it's art, right? Not only because of the thing, the act of creation in and of itself, but the movement that it takes.
That's not even normal creation. That's like Frankenstein creation.
Right.
Like it's alive.
But things just like keep ramping up, and so the person who sees the Cho piece that was created through all these things, I can understand not understanding where it came from. Like that other piece with the red with the black and white lines is like, there's a lot of information where I would have to learn about the piece and the artist in order to appreciate the piece as this individual is describing that and implying that I should. Because
it's really funny that you showed that cartoon, because I was actually going to bring up Mark Rothko if you weren't. And that red piece, I believe, is a Rothko.
Okay.
He's one of the most, the highest selling, artists of all time. Like his shit goes for like $60 million, or maybe not 60, but like, yeah, I know a woman that went to school with him. It's another one of those artificially inflated things like that, like capitalism. It's like, that's what I was trying to say in the chat during Arun's thing, was that people think, the issue is not poor people. It's not normal people. You should be able, I don't think, it's kind of like a drug dealer with the AI. Like, the first one's free. Capitalism does not breed innovation, and it does not make things cheaper. Look at Apple. Apple knows that they have pretty much a monopoly on the market, so they increase 100% every year, and steadily, they're going to squeeze all of the water out of that rag to the point where it's going to be a very, very exclusive thing. Hey, Mage, we're going to talk about you in a second, actually. Or not about you, but I love the project that you're working on right now. So capitalism does not breed innovation, and a monopoly inevitably increases the price. And it's like a vice grip. It's not like gradual. Once the AI market, this is what happened with Amazon in Europe. This is why the European Union had to be like, Amazon, stop! You cannot fucking do this. You can't find a piece of you can't find a small business, copy their product, artificially undercut their price until you drive them out of business, and then raise the price up. That's like, once AI pushes the art market down so low to where no one can afford to be an artist anymore, and they have a monopoly on that, that's when you're going to see your AI profile pic selfie is going to cost $1,500. You know what I mean?
Right. And I want to respond to that, but I also want to respond to Phenomenauticus. And I knew that you were already typing, so I wanted to respond. When we say that capitalism doesn't foster innovation, it's not that innovation doesn't happen under capitalism, right? Human beings do innovation as a matter of course. Like, we just do creation, we do innovation, we do that. What capitalism can do, and often does, is because of the allocation of resource, it can make the innovation not necessarily the best innovation, but whatever has the most amount of money behind it and whatever receives the most amount of money in return. If you remember Betamax and VHS, Betamax is a better video cassette than VHS, but VHS was able to hit all the points and was able to get enough money behind it that VHS became the standard rather than Betamax. Betamax was better, right? We had Laserdisc the size of records, and my uncle had one. Now, quick fact, my uncle was a cop and also was able to afford a Laserdisc. I'm just going to leave it at that. The Laserdisc was even better than that. There was DVD before DVD, and it was amazing and had all that shit. But even that, it was very niche. It never came down in price, and then it got killed by DVDs and things like that. So, people innovate, and capitalism has an unfortunate, any coercive relationship related to resource distribution is going to stifle innovation if the people who distribute the resources feel that that innovation is not in their interest. So it's not made necessarily by the consumers, but it's made by the money or the resources.
And they won't even let you keep your own innovation if you want to provide. So if I discover insulin and I'm like, I sell the patent for $1 or whatever, try to make that knowledge public, they still pull it back and privatize it again. You can't even, I guarantee, OBS. Streamlabs is literally they just stole OBS and just started charging for it.
Right. And there are differences. I will say that there is some more automation involved in this Slobs experience versus the OBS experience. At OBS, you have to do all the things you have to do, the widgets. You have to be a little more ambitious and a little more, willing to learn and make mistakes than with Streamlabs. Which has both the good and the bad of it. It's like anything else. Or you could just stream directly off Twitch, which is, like a super automated, way of going about it. This is that commodification, but it's also like that ease of accessibility going kind of hand in hand with each other, the trade-off of one thing or the other.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, like if you've ever worked, like I worked for, I was, basically it was a giant metal shop, but it was like a business. They make lug nuts, they make all these different kind of things. If you've ever seen the weird caps that fit on top of fire hydrants, they made those to prevent people from turning it on. So they had to make a special wrench to take it off and all that kind of shit. But I remember I had to sign a piece of paper when I was working there, and I was working as a heat treater. Like I would take the shit, I would dump it in the machine, it would get real hot, I would let it come out and cool down, and then I would use the forklift and put it on the shelf. But I had to sign not a non-compete, basically that anything I created while I was there belonged to the company.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always written in that way that if I create something at all, like I'm at home and I'm doing something.
You can thank Disney for that, because they're artists. It doesn't matter. Like, imagine if you're an artist and you want to create children's books or something, and you need a job. So you're like, well, I love Disney since I was a kid. I'm gonna go work for Disney. You cannot pursue your actual career that you wanted to do, writing children's books, while you're paying the bills with your Disney job, because anything you think of, they own.
And especially when it's in
locked.
Yeah, especially when it's in direct competition. If you're creating a children's book, well, Disney makes children's books.
The thing is, Disney is in every industry,
right?
So they own everything. But yeah, the whole IP law and copyright law thing is wild. I mean, it's like they literally were like, "Oh no, Mickey Mouse is not going to be ours anymore. He's going to be a public domain. So we've got to go to the fucking Supreme Court or some shit." I don't.
Yeah, and that like the people who came up with, I think copyright. Capitalism requires copyright, so under capitalism you have to have copyright, otherwise you and I would get ripped off for everything we create and so on and so forth. But the people who created copyright law way back in the day, I think, did a fair amount of like the best they could kind of thing in order to let people get their money, but then we all get it so that we can do our remixes and reimagines and everything else. And Disney definitely went a long way to perverting that, by extending and extending and extending. And like with the patents, has a way of just making it a little bit different each time in order to create this new 75 years plus a day, concept applied to that.
Here's where we get into another snag, is how art is not related at all to capitalism and should not be subjected to capitalism. Is that art by its very nature is a communal experience. Like it's a cooperative experience. It's a collaborative experience. No one ever did anything good on their own. You always have to have some kind of help. Somebody's your inspiration. You see something and you're like, oh, I bet I could do that. I'm going to change it a little bit or whatever. You cannot sit in solitary confinement in a white void and just magic fucking art out of thin air. It's not possible.
I mean, if I were to stretch this concept to like its extremes, the idea of like a person living on their own in a cave and like having to manufacture all their own tools and paint, like to create something along the lines of the cave paintings, right? At the very least, you have to interact with the thing that inspired your creation, right? Now you don't necessarily have another person. We're getting into if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one to hear it. Zen territory. But
Well, if you create art for yourself and you never show it to anyone, is it still art? You know,
Right.
that's what.
Yeah, like because it's one of my things is when I create a piece, I avoid naming it. Right, like what's that called? I don't. I've named one of my pieces, and that's because it was important to that particular piece. The red hand that shows up on the bottom of the screen there, that one. I call that the new primitives because it's what I'm trying to invoke is that cave painting style hand over like like a Twitter logo and McDonald's, SpongeBob, and all this kind of stuff. Like, and so the new primitives, it's part of a whole thing. But everything else, I want you to buy this because I live under capitalism, but I want you to take it home. I want you to hang it up in whatever direction you think is up. And I want you to look at it and you get something out of it in as pure a way as possible, right? I don't want to tell you what it's about. I don't want to tell you what I see. I don't want to tell you what to feel in any way, shape, or form. The fundamental aspect of the art that I create is that I want you to have a unique experience as clean from any outside interference as possible, because it's going to happen. Like, you're going to take it home and your kid's going to see it and they're going to tell you something, and now you got that in your head and you're going to make that association. But I know how the brain works with the associative memory, and I don't want to do that to you. Like, I want you to just have this.
It is sort of that's something I've thought about a lot in school was about naming something, because naming something adds a whole nother dynamic to it, because now you're dealing with literature plus visual art. So you're framing, even if it's just like, say if I name that Frank Zappa painting horny, that would change the entire context of it, because Frank Zappa fucked. Right. He liked to fuck.
Right.
But is that what that portrait's about? Not necessarily. But now it is.
Yeah, there's huge differences between naming it horny, naming it Zappa, naming it the existential experience within the 21st century. By like every time you add something to it, it is going to change that meaning. It's like the band names, right? Like when you hear a band name, the band name applies an aesthetic, and then the name of the song applies an aesthetic.
It's going to go down like a Led Zeppelin.
Exactly. It's like all these things have layers to them that ricochet off our associative memory and create, those connections. And no piece of art, very few pieces of art, I guess, are like the art that I am trying to create, which is not me saying that I am the only one doing this. I have no idea. But this is that is my goal, is I want you to have an experience that is so devoid from outside interference as possible, to try and get to that pure experience of seeing something, and that's my conceit, right? Like, nobody knows unless I tell them that, that's what I want, and I never get the feedback, right? It's this thing that happens, and I know that it's happening, but I'm not able to observe it. It's so I'm so wrapped up in my own bullshit when it comes to the creation of my art. That's me.
My favorite feeling being an artist is getting some of these fucking things out of my goddamn house. Okay.
So hit my man up and buy some of his art.
You see how deep the stack is?
Yeah. You got that condition where you need to create, right? And it's beautiful. Yeah. That is my favorite thing to see from artists, is when they are prolific, right? I can't stop creating.
That's why capitalism is so fucking toxic, is because I don't make art anymore unless I already have a down payment. Do you know how sad that is?
Yeah.
like I can't do. See what happens when I decide to pay something that no one commissioned.
Mm-hmm.
It sit here until
Yep.
somebody fucking takes it away, and I work really big, which is why I live in this shithole because it's got really high ceilings and a lot of wall space.
Yeah. No, I love to work big. Like, I love working on a 4x3 canvas. It's my favorite because there's so much real estate to work with and so much you
Right.
can do from one end to the other and everything else.
Right.
But yeah,
I like big gestures.
Mhm.
Here, let's see if I can find. I just cleaned up a little bit, so I might not be able to find it.
And while you're looking for that, it's another interesting commentary on the relationship between art and capitalism is you create something and now you have to market it, right? Like you have to put it in front of people and you have to put it in front of enough people that that you're hoping to get a hit, right? Like the interested party who's got the discretionary funds in order to purchase it.
Well, and so I used to be part of an art collective. We called ourselves the Anti-Social Society, something. Oh, what the fuck was it? It was. I didn't start it, but we called ourselves Lowbrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we were the. I mean, that goes back. Actually, this magazine, Juxtaposed magazine, was founded by a guy named like Roger Williams, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
But he started lowbrow art, and he was kind of a Robert Crumb sort of guy.
Right.
You know, like when you start considering tattoo art, comic books, things like that to be art,
mm-hmm.
that implies the existence of lowbrow art as
mm-hmm.
opposed to highbrow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a long way of saying that my clientele are working class people.
Right.
So they can't afford. Like I did that Zappa live. I've been live painting for 15 years now at concerts. So here's the band on stage, and then I'm either on stage painting or down to the right of the stage, to the side of the stage. And I was painting that, and there was this guy that really fucking wanted it. He was being so sweet, and he was like, "How much do you want for it?" And I was like, $500, which is reasonable for a giant painting that I did in 4 hours on site at a concert, and it's huge. Like most people, you know, if that was in a gallery, I could charge $5,000 or whatever because of the size. But he was just like, "Oh yeah, man, I'm totally gonna call you." And I was like, I know you can't afford it. It's okay.
No, I've had plenty of text conversations, and then when we get around to, and how much is it going to cost, and I give them the dollar amount, and that is the end of the conversation. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I wish people would just be adults. Like, you don't have to ghost me. Just be like, I don't. Never mind. I don't want it. Right. I can take it. It's fine.
Right. I want to give those people a little bit of cover. I feel like there is this awkward feeling for them.
Awkward. Yeah. It's my rent check, okay? It's not awkward for me, it's business.
Right. But for them it's like they do want the art, and they, like, again, because of capitalism, they recognize at that point that they're too poor for this piece of art, right? I mean, like, if we lived in the socialist utopia, you would give that Frank Zappa away to whoever wanted it, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Because you could just get more materials. All the things that you need that art to cover is contained with the price you're charging, right? Like all your materials, your food, your rent, your, you know, bills, all that kind of stuff is related to that. And like, I have never met, like, you say that, you know, like, it took you like 4.5 hours, you painted it, you want $500, and it's still hanging on your wall. So no artists I know are actually getting paid for the amount of time that they put into their work.
Oh yeah.
that is like actually like a sustainable wage in that regard. You know,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you could spend in like some art just comes off, right? I knock it out half hour, and it's amazing, right? And
Mhm.
there's another thing that I could spend 6 hours on, and you know, or longer, like the one piece I have that has been going on almost a year now
Yeah.
because it just keeps not moving for me. And you put that amount of time and effort, and even like digital artists where everything, you know, and they have those tools and they're creating something that's like relatively simple. People don't get paid that amount, right? Like I try to value things at $20 an hour,
Right.
and
Plus materials.
plus materials, right? Like, but people can't, the people who appreciate a particular aesthetic might not be the same people who have the money to pay for that plus, you know, anything else that I have to pay for with that time.
Well, there are people out there with money, and let me do a little self-indulgent, shameless plug here. So, what I do for a living is what I consider to be the most communist, socialist, whatever have you, uh, uh, proletarian sort of art. So, what I do is I go to a business owner that has the means of production. I pick a wall that is highly visible to the community. They invest in a mural for the infrastructure of their property, but it's for the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's as egalitarian as you can get under capitalism. It is free art for the people that the bougie pay for. You know
Right.
what I mean? And that's the best way that I could possibly uh, come up with, rationalize for uh, mating these two things, my
Mm-hmm.
concept, my abstract concept of art and capitalism. So that's actually my solution that I've come up with.
Yeah.
So if you got a big ass wall and you know, rich motherfucker, I'll come paint it and you can look at it every day. But I wanted to talk really quickly about Cryptid. Cryptid is doing a series of paintings, I think, self portraits that the AI generated of them. You know
Okay.
what I mean? So taking the AI generated and using that as a reference photo for a painting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really innovative, right? That's a really interesting way to deal with it. I don't think I've seen anybody do that yet. So that's a really good idea.
Yeah, no, I mean that is one of the arguments that people have had is that people can use them as prompts or as style prompts and things like that. The idea of like I really like the idea of taking the AI art and then making a human recreation of the AI art as a commentary on the whole thing. I love
Right.
that. That is, you know, because again, it's layers.
Very interesting.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. Is there
What
anything
about
else?
you? You
No,
you
go
haven't
ahead.
talked about your art. I mean, you're an artist. You don't
Yeah.
ever talk about it.
Um, you know, I make stuff and then like sometimes I always overmake. Like I just had I got a picture that I can throw up for stream. I showed this the other day. Something.
So emotes are so small. When I first saw that swirly emote, I had no idea what the fuck it was, and I saw your painting. I was like, "Oh shit, it's really cool."
Yeah, that's like a 2 foot by 2 foot piece. The Globus Wave. That's I love that one a lot. Screenshots? No. My organization is for shit. I apologize, Chad. I'm taking.
That's all right. Have you seen me stream? I have OBS open, and I'm just dragging shit around, improvising as I go.
Oh, you know what I did? I recorded it. So let me open it as a video. Media source. Media source. Browse. Thank you for your patience, Chad. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, actually, I'll read some chats. Phenomenautica, so I can't read and talk at the same time, so I'll go back and read your comments in the VOD. Oh, hell yeah.
Well, let me fast forward here. Right? This is me making it. And, like, I'm making tumblers. This is for one of my daughter's friends. I'm covering your face, but I guess I got to. My daughter's friends, because she ordered
Nobody
something.
wants to see my face.
She ordered something off eBay, and she hated it, and she was trying to get something from me, you know, like I believe it's for her husband or whatever. And it's going to be like, it's going to have a logo on it that I'm not going to state on stream, so it cannot be used against me in court. And then the name on it, kind of thing. And what I do is I don't just make one thing, I make multiple things at the same time. But the logo in question is red, white, and blue, and so I started adding some colors, and like these ones I painted and then put epoxy on. The one on the left, I kind of like the way it turned out. The one in the middle became a disaster, and then I was able to retrieve something out of it, and the one on the right here is the one that she ended up going with. So I'm going to fast forward, and
did you build that little spindle rotisserie thing?
No, I bought these like that. But you can see at this point, this thing in the middle is kind of a mess. It's like a weird pink, and it's ugly, and no one loves me. And then the thing that I do is I use like where did it go? The hair dryer to move the epoxy around on it, and like that. But then eventually we get into this, right? And this is
looks like marble.
Yeah, and this is the end form. This is the aesthetic I tend to go with on the right, and I was able to kind of retrieve some of it and in the middle, and the other one just has an interesting texture to it, and like that. So I ended up being happy, and she ended up being happy.
Oh yeah.
But it's one of those things. Is like I sent her she asked me how much, you know, after we talked about what she wanted, and I was able to give her, you know, an idea that I knew what she wanted. And then I hit her off with the price, and it took a minute for her to get back. So in that time, I automatically assumed that she wasn't interested at that point, right? But
that's I call it, you know, my dad, you know, is a small business owner. It's always like, it's like you're on a fishing boat with like 40 rods, and you get a bite, and you're like, oh no, I guess I got away, because you got to go over to the other rod that definitely has a bite. You know what I mean?
But you did end up saying that the price was great and everything else, and like my process, I work with people as I'm creating something like that. But like for me, that was intended to like fund my, you know, more abstract art, my wall art and things like that. But this is like usable art. I like to create art like you, like where people are going to experience this art on the daily, you know.
Yeah,
I want that art in your life, and making it into a tumbler, making it into something that you use every day has more value than even something that hangs on the wall. You know, yes, you can look at it, but you got to be here and you got to do that. This is art you can take with you and look at you all the time. So right. I like that. But yeah, no, like there was a summer I had that I was selling 4x3s and making a fair amount of money, and then between COVID and not wanting to get COVID, and so, you know, there's like opportunities that I didn't take advantage of, and I don't use a storefront like
Mm.
Etsy or anything because they didn't do anything to get my art, but at the same time they're putting my art in front of other people. I just don't like the amount that they're asking, to take from me. And it's
Dude,
just not
we could literally talk about this topic for days because like you're just making like all of those storefronts. So these AI just
Mhm.
they scrape data, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and they steal labor
Mhm.
from us because these computers you can't just type in, oh, here's a picture of a cat in a pool. It's like, no, we've been training these AI for free with
Mhm.
like CAPTCHA and shit like that. Like they are crowdsourcing this technology, and we are supplying our free labor
Mhm.
and consent. Uh, it's coerced consent, but we are being manipulated for this because like the AI is creating an amalgamation of images from images that exist on the web. If you like reverse image search some images,
Mhm.
it'll be like if you look at like tags or whatever, it'll be like, I think there's a cat in here. I'm not sure. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
These AI that we're seeing this art come from are very sophisticated and very purpose built, and they they're scraping all that shit. Like
Mhm.
I remember the first time I found one of my drawings for sale as a print on a Chinese art website. That
Mhm.
was a long time ago. But I never post high quality scans of my drawings to the internet anymore
Mhm.
because it just gets scraped, as data.
Right.
So I'll post like you see now, like you can see that painting right now, and if I turn the lights on, you probably see it better. But a fucking AI is not going to be able to pick that red tilted picture out and in low quality and amalgamate that in with other images to create something else. But if I
Mhm.
took a high resolution photo of it, uh, it would be included in the data set that creates those AI images. So
Mhm.
we're all voluntarily letting the computer hive mind steal our work, and that's where it's just theft, and like I really wish Celia was here because I wanted to talk about NFTs, and
Mhm.
also Mage said something that made me think of something else.
The interesting thing around that, or it's interesting to me anyway, is related specifically to the GPT chatbot. Um, you know the one I'm talking about?
GPT chatbot.
Yeah, it's what is it called? Like Chat GPT or something. It's the one like can generate stories and
Oh yeah,
yeah, Chat
isn't it funny
GPT.
that every time they come up with a chatbot, we turn it into a Nazi in like 45 minutes?
Well,
Isn't that wild?
this is what I wanted to talk about is like the the AI is like functionally neutral when it begins, and it is the participation of us that makes it become the thing that it eventually becomes.
Mm-hmm.
So while I definitely agree with you, there's no question that these companies under capitalism scraping the internet, generating these things, and that we are voluntarily, without knowing, putting our putting these thoughts and in this data into the Chat GPT, that they are going to use for whatever purposes they are going to use that for. But our absence from that input allows it also to veer into that territory where it starts spewing racist shit or whatever the hell.
Yeah.
We're not giving it like, you take a child, right? We imagine a child, and that child is fed nothing but hate. That child will become hate. But if that child is, fed nothing but love, that child will become love. And that child is actually going to receive a mixture of the two. And is there, because if these things are in fact inevitable, is there an obligation for us to make them better because we have a more empathetic, compassionate philosophy on life?
So that's another thing that I wanted to get into is people have a tendency to get wrapped up in, the newest thing. Like, obviously, with hindsight, we know NFTs were fucking stupid and a bad idea. And I sort of had that feeling starting out, and that's why I never did them. So, and no fucking shade on Celia, because, by the way, shout out Celia. Maybe we can talk to her next time. Twitch.tv/Celia the Great, I believe. But she did some NFTs, and I've always wanted to talk to her about that decision, and just curious. I'm not, no shade. I love Celia. But that was part of the conversation I wanted to have. But also, like, people think really binary, right? It's like, oh, yesterday we didn't have AI art, and now we have AI art, and it's going to take over everything. It's like, okay, can we have a little bit of nuance, please? And yeah, if you were going to make a stinger, like an intro for this video, that would be it. Just that little clip. Because people get things in their head and they get all excited about it. But NFTs, like, literally, capitalism created the FOMO that made every single corporation think that they needed to get into the speculative asset because it would be irresponsible to their shareholders if they didn't. And it was a scam, and the whole market crashed 90% in a day. So it was a bad decision. It was a house of cards, and it came down. So
yeah, like the NFT thing was obviously going to be a bad. It was like there was crypto, and there were the people who love crypto and the people who don't love crypto, and never the twain shall meet. And NFTs were crypto, but even dumber, right? Like, because here's this picture I have, and then you put it on the internet to show that you have it, and it's like, oh, it's mine now. I just copy pasted that bad boy. Like, there's so many fundamental things flawed about it that it was art made by people who didn't understand what art was, and like.
And don't get me wrong, all NFTs were not bad. Like, Beeple like totally gave his customers their money's worth of art. He created a fantastic image that they own the exclusive rights to or whatever. He sent them like a nice, beautiful, like animated GIF version, like in a digital frame with like a certificate that, like that is reasonable. But the majority of OpenSea or whatever was just Gary Vaynerchuk doodles for $10,000, which is fucking ridiculous. Like, I mean, if you like Gary Vee that much and the NFT gets you access to his exclusive convention or something, I mean, at least you get an experience. At least you get to go simp for a con man. Like,
Well, I guess that asks the question then, like, you're aware of the Trump card NFTs that just came out?
I refuse to look into it.
My sweet summer child. That's excellent. I did not.
I saw Talworks was talking about it, and I was like, no, I'm out.
I was there for that, and like, one of the things that happened is that it was discovered through the help of chat and like that a lot of components to the Trump cards were actually scraped from the internet. Like there's a
Oh, yeah.
cowboy
Sure.
Trump where he's wearing a trench coat, that exact trench coat, not even like the AI scraped some of it and it had a similar look, but it's the exact chunk of the picture. Like they went
Well,
there and did
that's what I would
Photoshopping.
expect from the Trump administration is for them to fundamentally not understand the process at all and just put some Groyper intern on the Google Images to right click and Photoshop for an NFT. Like all of this conversation we're having right now about AR generated art.
Mhm.
Why didn't they just fucking get some free fucking AI generated art and sell it? Like,
Right.
it's literally a money machine. They're so stupid. Did you ever see those Trump animations of like the Trump train?
No.
It looked like it was made by like 9-year-olds in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
Like the animation was so cheap, and it's just embarrassing. Right wingers cannot do art. That's another great thing. If there are any right wingers in the audience and you want a reason why you should, I know a lot of people are in the conversion game nowadays.
Mhm.
If you want to be a lefty, the lefties have not only do they have the best sex, but they have the best art. So if you want an example of right wing art, I think it was Tallahassee, Florida, during 2020. Instead of Black Lives Matter, it says Blue Lives Matter, and it is the ugliest shit that's ever been conceived of by humans.
Mm-hmm. But
it's a giant mural right outside of the police station.
The Trump, like, I will absolutely dunk on the Trump card NFTs all day, but by your definition, they are in fact art.
Yeah.
Right? And if art is appreciated by the viewer, then they could in fact be, to at least someone's definition, good art, right?
No, you're right. And actually that's ironic you say that, because like rich people and conservatives both have no taste. So I wonder what the common denominator is.
Love dunking on the rich. And I do too, because, fuck them. If your money doesn't give you a thicker skin, then I'm sorry, Elon. This is not my problem. But one of the things that I noticed is especially among the, I don't want to use the word because I want to post this on YouTube, but the extremely conservative and pale-skinned folks have a particular aesthetic. They like the art that looks like the thing, right? And that is their judgment of what high art is.
Yeah.
And I if we agree that is art and that we appreciate the aesthetic, does that say anything about us in relationship to our philosophy, or is it just a coincidence that we
this
both
is
like
another
the same
thing that I wanted to get into? Art is politics. It's inherently political, and you cannot remain neutral. Right wingers don't understand art, which is why they often, sing, Rage Against the Machine. They say based when based was created by a rapper that is like woke as fuck. They're idiots, is what I'm saying. But yeah, art is politics, and you can't separate the two. So it's ironic that right wingers are so open about the fact that the only art they like is propaganda. But the thing is, propaganda used to be a lot cooler than it is now. I saw a poster that was like an old propaganda poster, and it was like the American flag the British flag and like the Soviet flag all together, and it was so fucking gorgeous. And I was like, this is so inherently like obvious propaganda. But you know, it's like Jordan Peterson. He collects fucking Bolshevik propaganda. That's his art fetish.
No, I wonder if that's why he continually is having a nervous breakdown, is because he's actually a leftist at heart, but the money is in whatever the hell he's doing, so he's at war with himself constantly.
Right.
We're coming up on the hour. Is there anything you wanted to say? Anything you feel that we missed?
Yeah. The only thing else that I had on my list was resources. So we all know that the NFTs were resource expensive. So the problem is not the consumer, the working class consumer, it's the corpos. Like, if corporations don't have to pay artists for their art, then it's just hurting the working class. And there's no argument to be made that all artists should be replaced by computers. You know, first off, it's not possible. It may be in 1,000 years, but like, I don't know. You have to have artists, like actual people, to work on anything, movies, games, anything. So set that aside. If it's free to you, doesn't mean it's free. Okay. If you've got a fucking giant warehouse full of servers running, burning 10,000 pounds of coal just so you don't have to pay me $500, is that really the moral decision you want to make? Like, I'm not literally consuming half of the fucking energy of a small country, you know, to do my shit. So just because it's free to you doesn't mean it's free.
Right.
And if someone is giving you something for free, you're the product. We've learned that. Like, you got to keep that in the back of your head. Like, so.
Yeah, everything is more complex than it appears on its surface, right? Like,
it's like, would you rather Globus do you a painting for $100, or would you rather some guy somewhere burns $1,000 and then you get it for free? It's like, okay, you fuck Globus over and you're doing a bad thing at the same time.
Well, it was a pleasure talking with you, my friend.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, I look forward to speaking with you again in the future. And again, if you want to tell everyone who might have come in after the fact where they could find you and who you are and what you do.
Yeah, you know, I'm just a mural artist, and I spend way too much time on Twitch.tv. So you can talk to me. I like to talk to people. I like to make friends. So I'm glad that you and me are friends, Globus. It's always a pleasure.
Me too. You take care.
Peace.
So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Like, we are doing the thing. We are plumbing as many different points of view, and I want to make sure that everyone feels that they're getting a fair shake and that their voice has been heard and their arguments have been heard and their concerns have been heard, at least somewhere, you know. If you are an artist and if you have a strong opinion and you want this platform to come on and have a conversation about it, hit me up. I'm in the Discord. I'm on Twitch. I'm on Twitter. I am easy to find, if nothing else. It's Friday, which is normally the end of my stream week. However, because of the circumstances involved, I will be streaming tomorrow. Yeah, definitely Phenomenauticus. Definitely willing to have you on. I will be streaming tomorrow. I will be starting around 1 or 1:30. I'm going to be speaking with Z-Manzilla. Z-Manzilla is responsible either for these items directly. Are you going to let me scroll? Like, he created all 4 of these emotes that I have. Because it said, because of the hit you up, I had to allow it. We're still teaching AutoMod. We're still teaching the AI. But my man Zilla, I've known him for years. He is an old school friend. And he does music. He creates art. He has strong opinions, and I want to have him on so you can meet him and we can chop this up. Actually, it was level 2 aggression. Who is still... All right, we're going to raid Hildebeest. Please stick around for the raid. As always, make me look good, and then make me look like big, strong streamer, and then, either stick around because I enjoy Hildy, and Hildy is pretty based, or go off and find the stream or object that, or whatever you need to do in life in order to squeeze some sort of joy out of this existence. Make sure you drink your water. Make sure you eat some food. Make sure you take your meds if you forgot. And Shoggy loves you. And so do I.